What's up, guys? Sorry for the delay. I'm Rob Whiteside. This is Deep in the Plus, and tonight we got a very special show. We're going to be talking about Avatar, the #1 movie of all time. And I know you're thinking, Rob, that's not so deep in the plus because we've heard of Avatar, but we're going to talk in depth with Avatar with our Avatar expert, Patrick Hackett.
Sivako? Yeah. Sivako?
Sure, Sivako. Sorry, I couldn't get the intro to play. It was very weird. Unless you were hearing something I wasn't.
Well, no, we're doing it live.
We are certainly doing it live. So we're going to be talking about Avatar and this little picture right here.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh.
Yeah. Wait a minute, we're not talking about that one. You know, in 2009 when this movie came out, I was like, Avatar, that's really weird. They would take the Airbender and make a movie out of that. And why is everybody so excited about this Avatar movie? It's just a cartoon. And then, like, why would they call it Avatar, Patrick? Why would they do that?
So apparently, James Cameron, has been working on this project since 1995. And you can see every bit of intellectual property he borrowed from everyone else in this movie. I have no idea why it's called Avatar. You could have just called it Na'vi for that. Man, we're going to get into this, and it's... How many hours do we have? I mean,
we've got all the hours, my friend. We've got all the hours. So, yeah, by the way, I don't think timekeeping is on tonight, so we're just going to keep talking about this. I mean, it's a very long movie, so we should be giving it a lot of time, right? And I think you already have an opinion about this. I have an opinion about this, and I don't think they jive. So it'll be interesting to talk about that tonight. So this movie came out in 2009. It was, like you said, it was a movie that took him forever. I think he kept pushing it off, and then it finally came out and just broke all the records. Like, it was nuts. I mean, Titanic was the biggest movie that ever was. Also a James Cameron movie. Made all the monies. And then everybody, including George Lucas, was like, how did that happen? Like, how did he make all this money off of that? It'll never happen again. And then here comes Avatar and just blows the roof off the dump. And I think a lot of it was the new CGI effects and techniques that he was using really, like, you know, kind of changed the game. And I did find myself, as I'm watching this movie, kind of lost in the fact that I'm accepting that the Na'vi are real people, real creatures walking around, because I bought into it. I mean, there are times where you don't really see it, you know, you go, oh, okay, I see it now. But, like, some of the scenes, and again, we can get into it, are just so well done that I get why this was an amazing thing. So this movie then shook the box office, and then a few years later, there was this movie called Avengers. I don't know if you've heard of it.
A decade, though. It was a decade.
Right, and Avengers took over the box office, and it was like, okay, well, now, you know, Avengers, Disney, Buena Vista has a #1 movie. They beat out that Avatar movie, and then they buy 20th Century Fox. And then now they own both of them. And so there was this really nice thing that that Marvel put up on their Instagram, and it was showing the Avengers, and then the logo turns into the Avatar, because during the pandemic, they re-released this movie, and it then took the #1 spot again at the box office. So good for them. I mean, and they're all family. It's all nice, and they're all civil together. I still kind of wish that Avengers was #1, though. I don't know why.
I think it took it back. Didn't they do something and take it back?
I don't think so.
They did a re-release and they took it back. It's funny because James Cameron had the first ever movies to break 500 million, 600 million, and 700 million at the box office. So that's a pretty hefty thing for someone who I think is like one of the least talented directors out there. Everything he's made after Aliens has been pretty overrated. Yeah.
Did you just really say that?
Much better director. Oh yeah. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. $2.8 billion worldwide at the box office. Now, domestically, Force Awakens still holds the title for #1 movie, but worldwide, $2.8 billion for this movie that cost $237 million at the time, and people were like, "You're crazy! $237 million, you'll never make it back." And it's just, it's huge. And so now Disney owns all of these properties that are in those top 10, the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies and now Avatar. They own a half of Titanic. I think that they own anything that's like worldwide but not domestic. So, I mean, if it weren't for Fast and Furious and Jurassic World, they would own the top 10, because I think even Lion King is up there. But the thing is that they were all properties
by Universal.
Yeah, just let's just do it. Let's just buy it.
Yeah. Let's get all the gauntlet here. Just this is Disney. Just all we got. Right?
Yeah.
Marvel. We were just talking about this. How I never know which side I'm on. You Marvel, Fox. What else can we add there? We
don't have enough spaces at the top of Disney Plus as it is, so we can't buy anything else for a while until they figure out how to change the interface. Because again, I've argued there should be a 20th Century Fox spot, and there's not. But so for this, they bought all this. But the thing is that until other than Lion King, the live action version, there aren't any other Disney properties that are in that big window. I mean, Frozen 2 came up, but before this, Disney wasn't a box office juggernaut. And then they bought all of these things like Lucasfilm, like Marvel, and 20th Century, and now they are the dominant force at the box office. So, and when I say box office, I mean movie theaters. I don't know if you remember those before the pandemic. There were these things you would go and you would sit in the theater and eat popcorn and watch a movie. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah, I think Black Widow will be the first thing that lures me back into the theater.
That's fair.
July 9th, I'm going to go to Black Widow. If I liked the Fast and Furious movies, I'd probably be there this weekend, though.
Okay, so let's talk about the movie, because I want to talk about the movie itself, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's coming after, and then we'll talk about the parks, because I think that's, to me, a big deal with this movie and this brand is its presence at Disney's Animal Kingdom. So we'll talk about that at the end. But so for starting off for this movie, I know that you kind of talked some smack in our Wigs Discord chat for our Patreon members. You talked that you watched this movie alone because your wife didn't want to have anything to do with it. Why does she hate the Na'vi?
I don't think she remembered anything about the movie because she watched it back with me. And you're just looking into the opening of my Infinity Gauntlet. She watched it back with me, and she didn't remember very much of what had happened. So I don't know if she didn't really remember it, or maybe she's never seen it, but she did not enjoy herself at the parts where she was coming in and out of my viewing, and always had a lot of questions. And sometimes I had answers. Most of the time, I also had questions.
Okay. So this movie, and again, here's another thing that our folks in chat have talked about in the past or like this week, is comparing it to Fern Gully. Comparing it, you compared it to Pocahontas, and there's an argument that there aren't a lot of original ideas left in the world, and that everything is going to be able to be tied into something else. But I think that this one has a bigger message behind it in what it's saying, that the villains are the people that want to rip up the world, to take away, this unobtainium. The dumbest name I've ever heard for anything. I will give you that. Unobtainium? Really? What were they thinking?
It's literally just a phrase that sci-fi people have always used as the MacGuffin, the Maltese Falcon, the thing that doesn't actually matter in the movie. Like the Ark of the Covenant, the Grail, all that stuff. It's just a MacGuffin. It's unobtainium. It's just something to move the plot along. They could have named it literally anything. My guess is it's a stand-in for oil in this situation. That would be my guess, is with the very heavy-handed message James Cameron is trying to send.
Yep. So basically, with this movie, when it opens up, is that there's this guy, and he's narrating, and his name is Jake Sully, and it's hard not to say it in the way they say it in the movie. Yeah, exactly. So he is on a trip in his favorite rocket ship to this world of Pandora that he's gone to, because his brother was supposed to go and he died, and so now he is taking his place because his DNA matched, and he could go and take the place in this avatar. And at this point, you don't know what the avatar is, and so they're going to Pandora. They get there, and he is in a wheelchair, And so a lot of people are judging him for that. So I think that, there's probably a message to be learned there. And then when he gets through there, he had been a Marine, and so he had served as in the military. Everybody else here is a scientist, and this guy is from the military. Now there are a lot of there's a huge military presence there, but everybody who's part of this Avatar program is a scientist, and some of them have studied for years and years. And so he doesn't really know what he's getting into, I don't think, when he first shows up. And then they show him his avatar. So his avatar is this guy, this body floating in this big glass tube, which again you can see in the parks when you go, which is kind of cool. But he's there with these guys, and it's kind of like, ooh, you don't belong. And so then he meets Sigourney Weaver, who is the head doctor there, and she's like, you know what, we needed your brother, we got stuck with you because of bureaucrats. And she goes to talk to Giovanni Ribisi, who is great in this role. I think he does great with what he's got. I'll put it that way.
He's doing Ari Gold. He's literally doing Ari Gold down to his intonations. See, I don't think this is a good role for Giovanni Ribisi. Giovanni Ribisi kills it in Boiler Room, which was a movie I really liked growing up. I thought he did a tremendous job, and I've liked a lot of stuff with Giovanni Ribisi. It's hard for me to take him as our very serious, taskmaster who's the driving force behind this, instead of that kind of doe-eyed sad boy that he plays a lot of times. But he's having so much fun with the role. As we get into this, I'm gonna talk a lot about how I dislike this movie, and the acting is actually not part of it. Everybody there is doing the best that they can and seem to be enjoying themselves, which it did not seem to be an enjoyable experience making the film.
Okay. So once Jake Sully connects through this link chamber into his avatar, now he is walking. He is actually able to walk and use his legs, which I feel like there's a flaw in that he'd be able to do that, since he's in the link chamber as himself and only would be able to do the things that he could do. That seems weird to me, no?
That's not explained at all, huh? I didn't even think of that. I thought just you have control of the avatar, but I guess it's kind of the same technology that operates those mech suits, that kind of VR technology.
Yeah. So he and not to show too much because I don't want to get flagged, but he gets up and he's in this he's walking around, and you can see at that point how tall he is compared to everything else, and how large the Na'vi are in comparison to the humans that are there. And when he's standing up and he's walking around, his tail's hitting things, and everybody's yelling at him, stop, and he's not listening. That's a frustrating moment for me. I don't know why. Maybe as a parent, I'm just like, what are you doing? You're acting like a toddler. Stop it. I don't know. Did that bother you?
Man, no. See, it bothered me in a different way. I thought that was a little bit ableist, and it's oh my God, this is all this guy wanted, was to have his legs back. And a lot of times throughout the movie, they're just harping on his legs, and his legs, he's not able to live a fulfilling life because he's in that wheelchair. And to some extent, I imagine, because he's had the experience before, that it's difficult for him. But there's a lot of people who live like that, live perfectly happy lives. Watch the documentary Murder Ball. That's an awesome movie. I'm going to give a lot of recommendations on things that you can do that is not spending... How long is this movie? 6 hours?
It's not 6 hours.
Watch the Avatar. Yeah.
Dude, look at this animation. Is fantastic. It's in daylight, because before this, a lot of CGI was done at night so that you wouldn't see the flaws. I mean, this looks like a dude running through a field. This actually looks real. I mean, they do an amazing job with that. And so I think
the
that
mocap
it's
is terrific.
Yeah, and I think, and it's not
great.
Uncanny Valley like we've talked about with some Mars Needs Moms. It's actually, it feels okay when you're seeing it, and maybe it's because they're a creature or whatever. It's really, really well done. And so again, I get why all the accolades for that. So I don't know. I think that this is a very well done movie from that standpoint. And then as far as the message it's trying to send, again, is here's a guy who really, he's always been a follower, right? And so he's been a soldier, he's followed orders, and now he's got this new assignment where he's going to be helping out because there was money involved, because he was filling in for his brother, because the country needed him. He goes and he does this, And so when he goes to do it, he doesn't really know what he's getting himself into, and he doesn't really have an opinion one way or the other. And then through the experience of living
his brother's legacy.
Right, but through the experience of living with the Na'vi, he's learning about the, kind of the environmental side of it and the culture, and I feel like there's a huge lesson that James Cameron is almost shoving down our throats at this point, right? Is that, the environmental side of everything, and it's almost like they ran away with that side of it, and I'm not sure if they overplayed their hand, and I don't like that, or if it was just a very important thing for them to do. And I know you have a take.
I think that he really hammered it home, like you were saying. He hammered home the environmental thing. And actually, a lot of people state that this is like an anti-war, anti-monopoly kind of movie. And he said, no, it's the environmental message. I'm a tree hugger is his literal line when he's talking about that. They really hammered it home. And I think sometimes it's heavy-handed. I think what you were saying, that's a really great point, Rob, is that the dichotomy should have been more at play. We should have seen more torment in Jake Sully trying to decide between the Na'vi and the military. It's all basically just a switch flips. And he's like, Zoe Saldana's gorgeous, even as a 9-foot-tall blue alien. And so that's what I'm about now. That's, I'm all about that.
Right. So after this, and he's had a little bit of a chance to experience the Avatar, he meets with this colonel who's like, hey, man, I know that you were, a Marine, you served. I think I could use a guy like you on the inside. And he gives him an offer, almost that offer he can't refuse. And this is what sets up the betrayal, right? Is that he's going to work for this guy if he can give him his legs back. Because in this time frame, in this world, he can get walking again, but he just doesn't have the money to do it, and the VA system won't pay for it, which again, another lesson thrown in there, right? But when he goes in to do this and he gets, he's like, hey man, you help me. It's a very, very like just solid line where he's like, I take care of my own. And he's like, I will get you the operation you need to get your legs back if you will go in and be a mole for me. Tell me what these people want. Tell me what they're all about. Tell me how to take them down from inside. I will do this for you. And again, because he is used to following the rules, he goes, yes, sir, I got you. I'm going to do that.
Let's talk about how amazing Stephen Lang is in this. A great character actor. He does a lot of different things. He is in every single iteration of Avatar thus far. He's in a short that was about it. He voices his own character in the video game. And he said just because, spoilers for this 12-year-old movie, those 2 arrows in the chest don't mean I won't be in the next movie. So I think he's a great character and a great villain, and he's playing it up just right. And the scars, man, what an excellent job they did in the makeup department with those scars. Unless they're CGI, and then also good job there. But I'm going to go with that it's practical.
Well, and also he is like super buff in this thing. Like like when we first see him, he's like, oh my god, like the dude is like cut. I mean, he's just a machine. So I don't know if he did all that to get up for this movie or not, but it paid off. And every vein in his neck sticks out when he's angry. And I would be scared to death of this dude.
Yeah, no, he's doing a great job. He's making you feel intimidated, and he's just eating it up, man. These are the kind of roles that when you're a character actor, you're like waiting for. You're like, I am going to put my signature so hard on this role. People are going to talk about it forever. But honestly, nobody really talks about Avatar except for the technology of it all. And I think that's kind of what gets lost, is that there's some really good, fun performances in here.
All right, so you're talking about Giovanni Ribisi and like this isn't his movie. Yeah. I think this is Michelle Rodriguez's movie. I think that for her character, I like her more in this than I do in any Fast and Furious movie that I've seen her in.
It kind of sets up the arc for her going forward, though, huh? The kind of character she's going to play. This kind of tough but caring character. She does it really well. She actually has a lot more of an arc and more of a development than Jake Sully does. Her moment in the helicopter fight, man, that resonated with me. I actually got chills. They really well done, well shot, and it was authentic. That character, it was earned. It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to see if I can have some freaky hair sex, I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing what's right and what's inside.
So, she flies them out. She flies the avatars out. Jake's on his first mission. He's there with the doctor. He's there with the guy who came with him and who looks so much like Ben that used to work with us. It's because I know Ben. If you're watching, Ben loves this movie, and I think that dude, like, he could play him in the movie.
I don't want Ben to watch this movie, watch this episode, because he's going to get really upset. That is Joel David Moore, who is in Dodgeball and Grandma's Boy, and did a really good guest run on both Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Bones. He is another terrific character actor.
Yeah, so, it's just, like, look at this scene here. This is amazing. Like, again, such a beautiful shot. All of it's so well done. And you mean, I get why they wanted to bring this world to Animal Kingdom. I get it. I mean, it's just so well done, all of this. And just, again, the animation is great with it. The CGI, fantastic. I can't imagine that this wasn't, like, bleeding edge when they made this movie in 2009.
Yeah. So what we talked about, the process that took him a long time to get there, it was actually Gollum in Lord of the Rings that made Cameron feel like he could make this movie, that the technology had gotten to the point. There's some really great shots that I'm finding myself, whether it's practical or all digitally created. And then there's some that have not aged well. And actually, I think it's funny that you commented on the scene in the light, because I feel like some of the scenes in the dark really haven't aged well, and you can really... it feels overly animated to me. Yeah.
Okay. So when they get out into the woods, this is, like I said, their first mission. They're there. They're going on like a kind of fact-finding mission through here, and the doctor is there, and the scientists are going to do their thing, and then of course Jake wanders off. Come on, Jake. Come on. Get it together, Jake.
That should irritate you more than him running and not listening, just wandering off and getting accosted by wild animals.
Yeah. So and in his walking around, he's getting a feel for, like, all the wildlife, and there's, like, kind of the monkey-like creatures that are in the trees, and I'm sure, again, there are names for all of these that they don't talk about in the movie, but we know of afterwards. So it's really neat to see him kind of taking in this world as we're taking it in. And then when he gets lost because he deals with the wrong animal and it chases him through the woods, and he jumps off this cliff into the water. Which, again, I think that scene, and maybe we'll show it in a little bit, is just a beautifully done scene as far as the CGI goes. When all that happens, he's lost to them, and they're like, we got to find him because he's not going to make it through the night. Here's my question to you at this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you ready? Mm-hmm. If he dies, if his avatar dies, he's still okay. This isn't like a Freddy Krueger die in your dream type of a situation, right? The worst thing that happens is they lose the asset of the avatar. Isn't that the worst thing that happens?
Yeah, I think you just, especially at this point in time, he's not all about his avatar like he gets to be later on. But yeah, you just lose the avatar. We see later on in the film when Joel David Moore's character gets kind of machine gunned down, he just wakes up in a panic because he didn't, it's hard to detach that reality. But he'll be okay. Jake Sully will be okay. The avatar will cease to exist, I guess. Shayna had that question a lot too. That's why I think in the end, the Colonel went after the tanks instead of just going after the Avatar. He realized that was the best way to stop him.
Yeah, I get that.
So why didn't they do missions at night? That was the thing that, like, okay, so he's gone. We got to wait till morning. Is that so the people in the Avatar program get to sleep?
Well, that's another question I have, though. When do they sleep? Because when they're laying in the chamber, they're being the Avatar. When they come out of the chamber, they're doing their thing back in the lab. When do they sleep?
I think they sleep when they get done being the Avatar. They do, like, their little video log. That's why you see in one of the scenes that Sigourney Weaver actually takes him he fell asleep doing his video log and brings him to bed.
So here's a little bit of that scene with the water. So he falls down into the water. He's running away from this animal. I mean, again, this is amazing. This is underwater CGI effects. I mean, so good. I mean, this is, again, I get why people were so enamored by the technological advances of this movie.
Yeah, it's really beautiful at times. And I think it's lost on any home release. I think that it was meant to be seen in a theater. I don't care how great your home theater is. There's just something about that giant screen experience. It's the ultimate popcorn flick.
Yeah. One of those things where you have to see it on the big screen, like Dumb and Dumberer.
You should admit you saw that on the big screen.
I didn't. I mean, okay, so maybe I did. But so once he's lost from the group, the doctor says, hey, he's not going to make it through the night if he's out there. Which again, may be why they don't do these missions at night, like you asked. Because it's dangerous. It's like they say in Link, it's dangerous to go alone. It's dangerous to go in the dark. And so while he is running around trying to escape the Viper Wolves, Zoe Saldana's character shows up and she's going to kill him. And then these like little wisps come up and they say, no, don't kill him. Like, I mean, what?
So this is where it felt like it was biting off Star Wars a lot, and honestly, the worst part of Star Wars. This felt very midichlorian going on here, and it's the Force, it's everything around. They reference that several times, and I'm like, come on, man.
Ewa!
Which is, oh, goodness.
All right, so they go back without Jake Sully. She's like, she feels like he's been called at this point to be under her protection, and so she takes her to the village. And you find her in there, and she speaks English, and you find out that that the doctor had taught them English at some point, and there was some falling out where she didn't get, where they kicked the humans out, and they didn't let them teach them anymore. And so at this point that there's been bad blood. You don't know specifically what, but that there's been bad blood from between them. And then they go back to the village, and then this is when he becomes like, gets on the inside track with them, and they're like, okay, we see now that you are able, that there's like potential in you, so we're going to train you to be one of us. I mean, is that standard operating procedure?
I don't think so, but I think they believe so much in this Force that kind of governs their life, that they think that Force can't lead them astray. And so if they think that Jake Sully should be trained as a Na'vi, then maybe Jake Sully should be trained as a Na'vi.
Yeah, but the one thing that bothers me with this conversation that they're having is the subtitles are in papyrus.
Shannon noticed that immediately. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, are you like, there's two fonts just as a public service. Listen to me if you hear nothing else from this. Do not use Comic Sans, and do not use Papyrus. Those are the two fonts, just those two. Use whatever else you want to. They all have their uses. Do not use Comic Sans, and do not use Papyrus. That's it. That's the more you know. Just don't do that. And yet this movie with this huge budget, and that's like they pick an off-the-shelf font like Papyrus to use?
It feels like such an afterthought, right? Like, just make it a regular subtitle. Why even stylize it if you're just going to make it Papyrus? Or invent a font. It's not hard. You invented a language with over 1,000 words. Have that dude make a font. Like,
and apparently for the sequel, there's a lot of it that happens underwater, and so they had to invent a sign language. They hired a dude to make a sign language for them, because again, nerds like us are going to go in and go, Arabish and Na'vi, and Wookiee and Klingon. We're going to go in there and we're going to say that's not real. That's not a real language, and we're going to we're going to look at it and tear it apart. So they took that much trouble, but again, Papyrus, no.
Paul R. Fromer, who is a doctor of linguistics, also did the language for John Carter. And the TV movie for Turok: The First Flight, which is an Avatar spinoff, which I thought was just a Broadway show, but I guess was a TV movie too. But yeah, he's like a Hollywood. I actually thought he did Game of Thrones as well, but that must be somebody else.
So while all this is going on, he goes back to the folks at home base and says to them, "Hey, I'm in. They're going to teach me their ways." And they're like, "That's great. You can now show us what their weaknesses are, what they want. We can negotiate with them because their tree, which they call home tree, is on top of all this unobtainium." It's so weird to say unobtainium. Anyway, so it's like they've got this inside track with him, and as he's explaining to them like the importance of home tree and your diagram's wrong, one of the other scientists comes in, sees it's happening, tells the doctor, "Hey, your boy, he's a mole for them," and so she can't get rid of him because the avatar is made for him, and so she instead decides to take all of her guys and for them to go to a remote location away from this so he can stop checking in with the colonel and with Giovanni Ribisi's character and giving them all this intel. So she sees it. She's smart enough to know that's happening, but at the same time, she knows she still needs him, so she takes him away. Here's the thing that I want to do at this point is I want to hit you with some trivia because I know you love that. Are you ready for me to hit you with some trivia?
I'm going to fail this miserably.
Okay, this is going to be easy for you. I have 3 questions for you, and again, if you're watching in the chat, please make sure to answer. You may know the answers, you may not. Don't Google it. Just let's play together. So the first one is Jake Sully in this movie is taking the place of his brother on this trip, who was killed. He was shot for the paper in his wallet. Wallet. What was his brother's name?
Tom.
Gah! Thought I had you on that one. Yep.
His twin brother, they only mentioned it twice, which I was like, oh, I guess they're identical twins, DNA the same. I was like, all right, clever enough to explain away a plot hole that quickly.
Yep.
All right, what else?
Okay. Yep. So, when he goes and he sees his brother, they have him in a paper box. What's the number? No, I'm just kidding. There is a number on the top of that box, and I was like, I'm going to get him with that one. It's like an 8-digit number on the top of the box before they cremate him.
A113.
No. It's not a no. So the second one is he takes this trip to Pandora, and he's in hypersleep. How long is the trip from Earth to Pandora?
It was what? 5 years? A decade? I know they said it was like right in the opening. Oh, it's going to bother me. What is it? 5 years?
6 years. Because when he comes out of his sleep, it's like 5 years, 11 months, and some odd. But it's a 6-year journey to Pandora. So,
which I believe Cameron looked up because he based this in somewhat of reality. Like it's in the Alpha Centauri system, and it's one of the moons of Alpha Centauri A. It actually showed that our sun would be in one of their constellations. So there's some basis. I mean, most sci-fi has some basis in science, but James Cameron picked something that's observable and known. It's not just something random. I don't know if the moon is actually called Pandora, but I know Alpha Centauri A is the real thing.
Okay, so in Pandora, the world of Avatar at Disney's Animal Kingdom, this is much better. No, I'm not giving you. I'm not giving you park trivia. What?
Cheeseburger steam bun? So good.
You have to watch the movie to eat the steam pods. Sorry. So when in there is a fictitious company that is basically running this visitation to the planet, and it's called ACE, Alpha Centauri Expeditions. The company that is looking for the unobtainium What is the name of that company?
I can see it.
I'll even give you the initials, and you just tell me what they mean.
Okay, cool. I might get this then.
RDA.
Resource dead avatars.
You're the worst, dude. No. So, Resources Development Administration. It was right there.
Oh my God!
It was right there. Resources Development Administration. What resources are they developing?
Too easy.
Unobtainium. Yeah, that was it. So I feel like you needed to get a few of those in.
Oh man.
So
I thought you were going to ask me what Turok meant. I was like, oh, that means Last Shadow. I got that one memorized.
Yeah, and so while all this is going on, let's go back to the movie and say that. So actually, let's stop for a second because I want to ask. I want to do some business and say that if you guys are watching now, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining us every Tuesday night. We love doing this. We love going into these movies, talking a little bit about the movies, how they relate to the parks, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for doing that. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have not, please hit the thumbs up, hit a like. We always kind of bait our fellow our folks into doing this because we know that you're parks people, and we're going to unbox a Wishable. I don't have an Avatar Wishable to unlock, but it's going to be a Star Tours Wishable, and then we're going to give that Wishable away to somebody who leaves a comment afterwards. Last week, we reviewed Moana, and Neko was our winner. And she is getting a Wishable. So we're gonna if we can get 50 likes, that's all it takes, and we're pretty much up there. We'll open this one up. So and then Patrick, after the show is over for a few days and people have some time to leave their comments, we'll let you pick who the winner of the Wishable.
We owe one from one of the last shows too, don't we?
Arlo won.
Okay, cool.
The first one. Awesome. And then Neko last week, and so you'll get to pick the one this week. So back to this movie. Yeah. So we're back in this movie, and in this movie now, he is actually going through his training. They're doing that. You're the best around. They're like the montage of him like learning all of the stuff that he's got to learn, and of course he's learning how to shoot an arrow, and he's learning how to ride the horses. I have a huge problem now.
Okay.
The bond that they have to do is so weird. Is it almost sensual, like sexual?
Absolutely.
Talk about that for a period of time.
I do not want to talk about that for a period of time. I don't know what the scientific term, but the opposite of phallic is kind of what that bond looks like. That's really bad. That's not a picture we should leave up for. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we wrote a song for See a Real Late called Sex Tales. Woo. We also did Pandora the Explorer, which I learned Navi for briefly.
Oh, good for you. Can you speak some for us?
Thanks. See if I go.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
So the problem I have with this, I have a twofold. One is like the bond thing is just so... Again, it seems unnecessary, and I get what. Again,
Absolutely.
it's that heavy-handed message that is, we are one with the world, we are one with the earth, with the creatures, we are one.
Of life.
Yeah, exactly. I see you, Patrick. I see you.
I already told you I'm in a mated pair.
So in this world, they have to like basically plug into all of their vehicles. Like, imagine if you had to somehow connect with your car to make it go. Very strange.
You gotta
very
shop
weird.
around the dealership, be like, I don't know, this Mitsubishi and I just aren't getting along. Maybe I should go over to the Nissan. I don't know.
Exactly. So the second part of it is, though, that he bonds. Makes it sound like he's naughty. He bonds with everything. He bonds with the tree. He goes to the soul tree and he bonds with that. He bonds with everything. He bonds with everything. But it's a connection, and it kind of like it reads your thoughts, right? At some point, wouldn't they have read his thoughts to know that he would betray them?
Ooh. That's not something I thought about. That's interesting. It took me a long time to remember that the soul tree and home tree were different. There are multiple soul trees, but there's only one home tree, if I remember correctly. Which, honestly, it's the tree of life. And I wish they would refer to it as such, especially because it's in Animal Kingdom. I don't know. Can they really? Is it? It feels like a more direct communication. It doesn't feel like a mind reading thing, because it's very direct. But maybe at the soul tree they could have seen, or maybe they see that deep down his soul is good-ish.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's a really good point.
So when I guess in the real world, they've gone to a remote location to be able to connect and to merge with their avatars. And this is the location, which, as we all as park fans know, these are floating mountains. Patrick, what are the names of these mountains? What do they call them?
Those are the Hallelujah Mountains.
There you go. Just checking. So, in the Hallelujah Mountains, you can't use your any of your equipment, right? Because everything in there, like Michelle Rodriguez is an excellent. The what?
The flux zone. They call it the flux zone or something like that.
So she's flying the helicopter in there.
Money to write that.
She's flying the helicopter in there, and she can't use any of her readings because they're all skewed up because of the mountains, and so all of the tech is bad because there's no connection in and out, and they use that to their advantage later. Here's my next question: how then are they able to link to their avatars? I have a Wi-Fi problem from this room to that room. How are they able with all of this and I know that they use it, they call it out for the reason of coming back later in the movie and showing how they're going to use it against the bad guys. But in this case, why would it be up on the mountains where they would get poor signal?
Wow. You're bringing up plot holes that I didn't even think about. So
we're going deep. That's what the show's about.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the technology that the Avatar has to be so advanced. It's not like satellite technology, which for a movie, 130 years in the future from right now? I mean, they're still using pretty basic satellite technology and referring to 20th, 21st century terms about visual airfields and things that's actually a AVV thing, is that you cannot fly if you cannot see. You're not allowed to just rely on satellite. Oh, somebody just said something good. Go Sounds.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, there's a minor league baseball game going on across the street. If you hear stuff, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
So
part of our life.
Yeah, exactly. So then there's this part where we learn that Jake is just about ready because he goes and he does a clean kill. And then he does a little prayer over this animal.
Look at those bedroom eyes there, though. And the freeze frame is very obvious. The lust in Natiri's eyes for Jake at this moment.
Let's go back to this though. They're pretty naked the entire time too. Should I be worried about the kids at home seeing this? I don't know.
No,
so
we're okay.
Okay, so in this moment, he has become a man. Mazel tov.
Yes, he does have his bar mitzvah. He's ready to go.
And so then they decide, okay, just like when you become a man and your parents go to get you your first car, they take him up the mountain to get his Banshee or Ikron, right?
Yeah.
And he has to bond with his Ikron because, again, he's got to bond with everything. And so they want him to fail, and so they're trying to get him to miss the rope when he has to jump and do all this other stuff.
Jake Sully goes first.
Yeah, so Jake
that
Sully
was the best part. Yeah.
So he goes up to get his Ikron, and I don't know, is this like the wand chooses the wizard kind of a situation?
Very much, yeah.
But he's like chasing through all of them, trying to find one that's his, and a lot of them are running away. Isn't it basically the slowest one, or the one that just stays around is the one you get to keep? I mean, right?
No, the one that you bond with tries to kill you. They say that in plain Navi? No, they said that part in English, yeah. They said that in plain English, that the one that tries to kill you is the one you bond with, which I thought was kind of fun. Like, it's not just going to be the most docile one. You're not going to walk up to it like all those scenes you see of wild horses being tamed. You, like, pet the Ikron's muzzle? Nose. Yeah. This region.
Yeah. So
do you know what I noticed in this one that I didn't notice before? Is, man, check out their teeth are very pointy. I did not notice this on past viewings. Like,
you mean the Na'vi?
Teeth. Yeah, the Na'vi, like, it's very, it's almost like animal and human DNA together kind of deal.
But that's because they in these scenes they're like hissing at the Banshees.
They hiss a lot.
They do. But I feel like that Zoe Saldana's character hisses the most. So
I thought Sully hisses the most. He hisses
a
lot, especially in the end of the movie. Like, he's very hissy in the end of the movie. I could hear it.
That was me. Oh, you thought that was okay? That was me. Yeah. So he gets his Ikron, and then they go and they fly. And honestly, at this point, is something that I hadn't really taken in before. Is that this is writing itself to be Flight of Passage, the attraction from Animal Kingdom. Like, I don't know that I ever noticed before how much that scene is just like, him riding through there and seeing.
Yeah, verbatim. Like, there's some shots that it feel like they just lifted it.
And the music and like the way that it builds at the same places in there, the James Horner music is fantastic. And I think that's an underrated part of this.
Tremendous score.
Let's stop and talk about that for a second. So the music by James Horner is amazing in this. And, there's John Williams music like Jurassic Park and Star Wars that is so, that just sticks with you forever. The Alan Silvestri from Back to the Future. That's just these anthems. And I don't know that I took that away from this, but I think the land made me love this music. And so, again, we'll get to that bit in a little bit about.
I think that it's just good score. The song at the end, I See You, the theme from Avatar, is horrendous. And it's definitely Cameron going back to the My Heart Will Go On well. And that well is empty. And Leona Lewis is very talented, but, she ain't Celine.
Yeah, well, by the way, Dawn said that 3 cats used to the hissing. So... I mean, that's kind of like when you're driving and you hear in a song like police sirens and you think you have to pull over. You're probably watching it and you're like, the cat wants something.
Which cat is that?
Yeah, it's like, which one? So the music is amazing, but the Leona Lewis song at the end is a little weird to me.
It's really weird. Again, it's another thing I did not remember until this viewing. I was watching it because I'm like, is there a post credit? There should be a post credit. Because Marvel has me conditioned, and there was not a post credit.
But the song is called "I See You," and I like Leona Lewis. I think she is. I think she's a good singer.
I was just rocking out to "Bleeding Love" the other day. That's a good song.
This song reminds me of like a bad Bond song.
Ooh, good call.
And it's almost jarring because again that music is so perfect, and this is not Wild Wild West by Will Smith that carries you through the credits. It's a weird choice, so I don't know. It's just weird to me. So, getting back to the movie, they're flying around, and so what's the name? I'm horrible with the names here, and because you speak Na'vi so fluently, what's the name of the large orange bird banshee?
Oh, that's Turok.
Turok. Okay,
it's not a banshee. It seems to be a different species, like a subspecies of banshee, and it means the last shadow. And it actually is when they did their Cirque du Soleil show that the Turok is the basis, and I think it's actually based on Neytiri's grandfather, who was the last Turok rider.
So they go through and they talk about how what a big deal that is, and again, super foreshadowing to that. So then he's got his Banshee, or his Ikron. He's bonded with everything he could possibly bond with. He goes through the ceremony. He's one of them now, but now he's changed his mind. Right now, he wants to side with these people because he's fallen in love, and he feels at home here, and he's never felt this way, and he's got legs, and he's strong. And so he goes back, and the colonel's like, dude, I'm pulling you out. And I get this vibe of like an undercover cop, who goes under, and it's like, I'm addicted to drugs now, and I'm getting off on the whole robbing people and the seedy underbelly, and they're like, oh dude, you're too deep, we got to pull you out. And so the question at that point is, did he really get too deep into this and lose his way, or did he find his way, Patrick?
I feel like there should have been a lot more into that. Sam Worthington, this is kind of like the breakout role for him, and actually does a fantastic job playing Jake Sully. Has been in a ton of stuff since then, and just a really fun actor to kind of watch. But it's like a switch flips, and he's like, yeah, I'm a Na'vi now. He just abandoned everything, and there wasn't fighting with it. There's that one scene where he's like, I don't know which is reality, what's real, what's not. And you can see that, like you were saying, Rob, he's in too deep. He's lost his way in here. But there's not that internal struggle for him, like, I'm betraying humanity, even though it's for the right reasons. I can't possibly live like an avatar for the rest of my life. So it's very interesting that they didn't do more with it, especially in such a long movie.
So they tell him he can go in and just, find a way to get them out, peacefully. And so they go to do that. He's going to have that conversation. But while he's away from his avatar, the body's laying there, and all of a sudden here come the cranes and the tractors and the bulldozers, and they're mowing everything down. They're moving forward with their plan to annihilate everything and go get that unobtainium. And so they're going through this whole thing, and everybody's freaking out. And so now he's got to tell that ugly truth that he knew all along this was going to happen. And this is such a trope for every movie. It's like the lie that becomes, that finally comes out, that you were about to tell the truth, and then somebody else outed you. Man. Somebody else outed you at the last second, and now everyone hates you, and that's when you have to come back in the third act. That's what's got to happen. So she hates him now. The village hates him now. Nobody trusts him. His own people hate him now because they think he's one of them, and it's just he's in a bad spot. So now he decides that they're going to go help them, and they try to fly away, and in doing so, Grace takes a bullet. Yeah. Yep. So then they take Grace to the Tree of Souls to see if Awa can go ahead and give her a patch up and merge her with her body, and she's going to be she's going to merge is again a real big setup foreshadowing for Jake in the end, but at the same time, you sort of hope and pray maybe if you've fallen for these characters that Grace will come through, or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're supposed to be hoping that Grace gets to live on as her avatar, because that seems to be what she really wanted. And it seems like we're dealing with more of the kind of Anakin Skywalker chosen one scenario here with Jake Sully, that there can be only one Highlander, you're a wizard, Harry, all those other tropes, that Jake Sully could be the only one that becomes Na'vi for real. Just to quickly get on that, I think one of the biggest mistakes made in this film is casting Sigourney Weaver in this role. Really? It is too reminiscent of Aliens, and that's all I'm thinking about. I'm waiting for a xenomorph during this point in time. There was plenty of talented women to choose from, but and she does a great job. But it's too much like Aliens for me, an Alien.
So now they send all the troops to go ahead and blow up Home Tree, just to flush everybody out, and so now Jake's really in trouble because not only did he betray them, but he's given them the secret, which is to get rid of Home Tree and you kill all their hope, right?
Yep.
So now when we get done with all that, he's really got to come back. He's what?
I said once we get done with all that, there's still more movie.
Well, and again, it's one of the things you were talking about was that they don't progress the characters enough. No. They don't get in depth enough about their motives, et cetera, but it's a 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
Right.
Like, they couldn't have gone any longer.
This would have been served so much better. You want to talk about sequels that are... I will not believe they are happening until I am sitting there and the movie actually starts. Like, I'll get through the previews and I still won't believe. This would have been so much better served as a two-parter, as a beginning and a sequel. And you can end it with, like, Jake getting completely lost as a Na'vi, and then the whole second one is this conflict, this war, and the resolution of that. I feel like it would have been so much better served by 2 hour and 20-minute, 40-minute movies than 240,
I guess, but I feel like this story had to be told in one piece because I think that without the complete story, I think it would be a dud of a movie. I don't think you would have gotten your second movie. I think it has to all be told together.
I think he has enough clout that he could pull that out. He could have made it happen. Like, this is my two-part. I'm filming it at once,
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like, again, it's there are times where you're like, this is a really long movie, and sometimes it moves along pretty quickly. So I think that it really, it just depends from moment to moment. So here's the next thing. So he's got to make a big gesture, right? Anybody who's screwed up royally, back to your rom-coms, he's got to make a huge gesture. Come in singing, bring a flash mob, or go get a legendary Banshee. And so he goes and he uses his Banshee, which I feel like is a betrayal of his Banshee that he's bonded with.
Kind of a jerk move. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, his Banshee served him well.
You don't bring your old dog to adopt your new dog, Like, there's a great Family Guy about that, about the new dog that came in and replaced Brian. Yeah, you don't bring your old sentient creature to pick up your new sentient creature.
Yeah, so he attacks from above. He gets on this thing. He bonds with it because, again, he bonds with everything. He brings it to the people. He's like, look, man, like, I'm going to help you here. This is, I lost Grace, and we want to make things right, and I'm one of you, and I'm your brother, and I've just got this big bird, so now you got to listen to me. And so they go through.
I have this bird. You better listen to me.
He'll eat you like
Look
that.
At his face. It is a razor blade of a face.
Yep. So he goes in and he's like, hey, let's get all the other clans together. And I'm like, there are others?
Yes. Right. Like, do you even remember that from previous viewings of the movie? Because I had completely shut that out.
I mean, they did it in Black Panther, so I don't know why they wouldn't do it in this movie. Yeah, it's always that like hidden army, right? I mean, there was in Star Wars,
Game
like when they go, like they go and it's like here's that hidden army that here comes the cavalry. I guess again an old trope. Here comes the cavalry. So they come in and they go from like place to place. He's like, hey, look at my big bird, come fight with me, and they're like, cool, we got you. And so they're all converging. And then here's the thing I hate about villains is that misplaced. I don't know, like sense of like I'm right or whatever is that the colonel's like those guys are coming after us. It's like yeah, they're coming after you. You just burned their village down, and it's like pay it. Like I get that that's why the villain has to be that way. That the villain seems justified, but it's so frustrating to me because I take it personally. I get involved with it, and I'm like,
It's a maddening thing. It's like this colonialism, imperialism, manifest destiny kind of business where this says, oh, they're coming at us. we're so innocent and pure in this whole situation. We didn't just firebomb their village and take everything that was meaningful to them, which is really weird when James Cameron says this isn't an anti-war movie, when it clearly kind of sets the stage as not only the huge environmental message that's knocked over your head repeatedly, but this is very clearly an anti-war movie, even if he says he didn't intend it that way.
Well, I mean, and even like thinking back to the indigenous people, and like the message that, that what we did was, was wrong. Again, pick a message almost in this movie, right? Because there's so much of it. Like, I can only feel so bad about myself as a human being here. Choose one. Am I killing the planet? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Killing other planets. I got done with that one. I've found other planets that I need to kill now.
But I mean, if you watch Awesome Planet now at Epcot, it will tell you that there's only one like it. So, and it's move-in ready.
Oh God!
Stop hating things, Patrick. Stop hating things.
I try so hard.
So they go and they decide they're gonna wage war against the people who waged war against them, who are like, now we have to protect her. It's weird. So there's a big epic battle by the Hallelujah Mountains, so that they're all of their radar is off kilter, and they use the Banshees. They go through them like butter, and they go through all these warriors like pawns, and then eventually Jake jumps into the ship, blows it up, but the Colonel ain't going down like that. He puts on his mech suit, he jumps down, final like battle. Move. Yeah, exactly. Now when she's caught underneath, like the Viper Wolf, and she's trying to move him off, and I'm like, just get out, come, you gotta go help Jake Sully, come on.
Jake Sully.
So so they go through and I mean, this is basically the end of the movie, is that, they defeat the bad guy. Jake almost dies. She goes and she holds frail little Jake in her hands, and this is her boo.
I'm like, man, there is parts of this movie that I was like, this is doing okay. And when Neytiri holds Jake Sully, the non-Avatar, and they do the whole ICU bit, I thought that was pretty sweet. I really actively tried to find reasons that were enjoyable about this, and I thought that was very cute. I think, honestly, Zoe Saldana did not get enough credit for her work in this role, because she plays this character tremendously.
Yeah, so here's a little bit of that. She puts his mask on him, and then, like, this is the first time she's actually seeing the real Jake, and they have their moment. Like, she's just humongous. Like, again, and this feels real. I mean, it feels like a real, like that scene feels very real. So I really appreciate that for what it is. And that's, then they go and they're like, hey, let's go ahead and get all these guys off the planet. We're going to send them, the off-worlders, back on their 6-year journey. How can we be sure they're going back? I don't know. I mean, are we sending some people with them to make sure they go? Like, we're making them get on the ship. But, like, it's a 6-year journey. They could go anywhere. They could swing around the planet, come back, and blow it up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they were this diligent to try to, like, get rid of these guys, would they really just give up at this point? I don't know.
I don't know. There was a whole, like, little bit of a subplot that was kind of like the investors and what the investors would think in this all. By the way, where did they get machine guns that size?
Oh no, they were given them when they were avatars. Like, Jake had one, remember? Because
that's right. Okay. Those are the crew that
those were government issue. Yeah.
Yeah, got you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, how did they suddenly get big guns? Like, they had bow and arrows. It's that and the walk of shame that they make the humans do. It's so just stupid. It's so stupid as a conclusion to the film. You could have concluded it with, like, the Bond scene, or with even just her holding him, and the ICU business would have been a better.
No, this is how the movie ends. This is the closing scene, which is the money shot right here.
Okay, yeah. All right. I thought the walkout was this is cool. He gets the Force all around him. The midichlorians are coming. And he opens his eyes and credits. Yeah.
The end. So, cue Leona Lewis. Oh my gosh, it's so weird. So this movie is over 2 hours and 40 minutes of our lives, written and directed by James Cameron, scored by James Horner, brilliantly played Zoe Saldana, who then, if you think about this, she's in movie 1 and 2. Because she's in Avengers, and she's in this one. She's in movies 1 and 2. No one else, to my knowledge, can say that. And that's kind of awesome. So I hope she's making bank the next time that they ask her to do a movie. So then James Cameron waits 10 years, and he's like, okay, I got these sequels, and they were originally supposed to be out in like 2013, so like 4 years after. And he's like, no, pushing off to 2014. No, 2015. And then we got mixed up in the whole, they're buying Fox, and so how does that affect things? And then let's stop and make Pandora, the world of Avatar at Disney, and we'll put our focus on that while we're making these movies, and then we're going to go, and pandemic, we got to shut down again. I
need to convince Patrick that there actually is a for real Atlantis. I need to make that documentary, which you did.
So, did he convince you? As you saying?
Oh, yeah. I've been trying to get you to do his Atlantis documentary for a while. I totally got convinced by James Cameron that it's not like the mythical lost city, but there was a city that is like Atlantis, and man, it's a good documentary. It's a lot better than this.
Okay. So there's supposed to be sequels coming. The new thing is that they're going to be December 2022 is going to be Avatar 2. Apparently, a lot of it takes place underwater, so there's a bunch of new techniques. They're doing mocap suits underwater. There's like pictures on their Instagram, so apparently it's happening. We just need to see it. And then the theory was
has it in post-production. As in the post-production phase. So, I mean, there's a possibility this is an actual thing that's happening.
But it was originally going to be like 2 and 3, and then there was like 4, and now I'm hearing 5. Like that they've already planned out Avatar through 5. And that it's going to
listed as filming.
And it's going to take every other year, so it's going to be 1 year December is an Avatar movie, the next year December is a Star Wars movie. That was the original plan. And again, how COVID affects that may change things, but it was supposed to be cash cow every other year. Boom, Avatar franchise, boom, Star Wars franchise. So all of that stuff is supposed to be coming, but these are huge. Like I said, I don't know how you give equal time to all of these franchises. I feel bad for the Muppets, which was one of the first IPs that they bought back with Eisner, because there's not room for them on the slate to make these movies, to make things in the park. They get kind of pushed to the side and made into Pizza Rizzo and the Regal Eagle. So I really feel like that somebody should do more with the Muppets. And then you've got Pixar, and the Pixar movies are just coming out on Disney Plus. That's weird. And then
which
now
is a big point of contention between executives, that they feel like, why are our movies not getting a premium treatment when Cruella and Raya and everything else? The infighting in the Disney boardroom has to be amazing at this point in time. Hopefully they're all just blaming Bob. That'd be good.
So you've got all this legacy IP, you've got all this Fox IP sitting on the sidelines that you could be using into, again, integration into Disney Plus, integration into the parks, integration into the movie theaters, and redos, and Indiana Jones 5 and Night at the Museum reboots, and all of these things that they could be doing. They have so much IP. But these are blockbuster franchises. Avatar is a cash cow. Marvel is a cash cow. Star Wars, cash cow. So and then
Avatar
obviously
really it's gonna do this again?
I didn't think James Cameron had it in him after Titanic. So yeah, I do think so. I think that this is more people have seen this movie than any other movie theoretically, right? Because of the amount of money it's made. Right. Yeah. Or just, Jim and Tony have seen it a lot. And, those two guys have spent a lot of money going to see this movie in the theater. This is theater money, not just the stuff on Disney Plus. So because it's on Disney Plus, it feels like it makes it feel a little bit more like it's owned by Disney to me, because it's like, now we have it here. The other thing was, when they made the world of Pandora, the world of Avatar, I thought that was the silliest thing I'd ever heard of, that they were going to make an entire land when they already had a bunch of IP based on somebody else's IP that they didn't own. That was a very universal move. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand it.
I mean, if you go back in the days of WWNT during that time, we all called it the Potter Swatter. This was a direct reaction to what the Wizarding World of Harry Potter was doing at Universal. Like, well, we need a big franchise. The rumor that was reported here on this website that was erroneous is that Lord of the Rings was coming to Animal Kingdom possibly, and so it looks like they just reached down for the next franchise. I still don't think it was their best move, but man, that land is impressive and immersive, and it's one of the best attractions. We can talk about how it's a screen-based attraction, but honestly, it's great. I think the land and the attractions are better than the film, and probably better than whatever's going to come of the sequels.
So you've seen, I mean, I know it's been a minute since you've been to Florida, but you've experienced the attractions, and obviously you've experienced the food. But
yeah.
All right, so when you get there, though, seeing this when you first walk in, these floating mountains, and knowing clearly that they're not floating, but still at the same time, it is like seeing the Millennium Falcon when you walk in. It is like seeing Cinderella Castle at the end of Main Street, USA. It is breathtaking.
The land is absolutely breathtaking, and it's a shame, and hopefully as we see the pandemic come to an end, we get Animal Kingdom open at night, because that land is meant to be seen at night. And it's such an impressive place, and it's vibrant and it lives. It's honestly a lot of the stuff that we always are asking Disney for. It's just a kind of shrug that this is the property that they used. There's great animatronics in the land. There's characters in the land. The restaurant has personality. The shops have personality. It's not homogenous. It is authentically just Pandora in this area, and it's really wonderful. They did a great job.
So I agree. I bought this Pandora.
I thought about it.
I think it was a pass holder. Yeah, it's a pass holder.
I think it was.
Yeah, Magic Band, and then of course I'm an addict for the Wishables. So there were.
I did not know they did a line of Wishables on those. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they did the Hexapede, the Viper Wolf, the Banshee, and again just a what they call a Sentry. So the Sentry, he looks like this. There he is. And then the open stock, as we call it, was the Shaman of Songs, which is perhaps the best animatronic. Would you agree?
I think it's the best animatronic ever made. Yeah. I don't have anything that would come close in my mind.
There's a Viper Wolf.
It looks like an evil Knuckles from Sonic.
And then there's the Banshee, and the Banshee was one of the first chasers. So with Wishables, there are chasers where there are variants, not Loki, but there are variants, and so there were 3 different color Banshees. I only own 2. I don't have the third one. So
gotta talk to Bill.
I don't think she has all 3. Dude, I have more than anybody else at WDWNT. I don't know what you're talking about. I literally have the most of all of them, so fight me.
I will not.
I've been trying to get you into them for years, man.
I got I like them. They're very cute. This is by far my favorite. I would have to find something else that strikes me as adorably as these cute little churros.
Well, we've hit 50, so let's go ahead and open this. Let's go ahead and do that. This is the Wishable of the night. So
it doesn't seem to be the vehicle. It doesn't seem big enough, so it's something that's upright. I think you got Stormtrooper. You got
Stormtrooper, you got Rex, you got C-3PO, and you got the vehicle. The vehicle could be either the Starspeeder 3000 or the Starspeeder 1000. I think it's a Starspeeder.
Really?
That's my guess.
It didn't look big enough.
I feel like there's a joke there, and I'm not going to fall for it.
Yep, Starspeeder.
Yep. So the package says this is the Starspeeder 3000, but this is actually the 1000. Yeah. So
we know
again, anybody, if you're watching this, please make sure to comment below. Tell us what you thought about the movie and or the show. And Patrick, later this week, will pull a winner who will win this little guy, and we'll send it off to you just because we appreciate you watching the show and sitting here and listening to us talk about stuff. Tell everybody. So the land, to me, when I'm there and hearing this music and being reminded of the land makes me love the land more. And going to the land recently, it makes me feel like I kind of get more out of the movie. I really feel like this is one of the first franchises that I feel like that the land and the movie really complement each other very well, because a lot of attractions and lands are retellings of the story you already know. Cars Land is still my all-time favorite, but this one I think has got to be like number 2, number 3, with maybe just because I have a Star Wars problem. I do like Galaxy's Edge, but this land is made so well, and I could spend so much time there because it's so beautiful. Yeah, no, like you said, it's different day and night.
Just chill out. Yeah, I just get something to eat. I get something to drink.
The Night Blossom is one of my favorite drinks. I love that. What is the name? Wind Traders is a very cool shop.
Yeah.
I think that the make your own avatar thing didn't really work out very well for them. The Adopt a Banshee thing was kind of cool. I have one, but it is a little weird to be walking around with those, and they're making smaller ones, so that'll be cool. But just that shop has a cool vibe to it. The music is playing through the land. The mech suit, when they had it, I wish I had seen it in person.
Oh, you never saw that in person? That was such a fun show. I've seen 2 different versions of it. They did like a weird holiday version. I think when we were there for Rex the Halls, I saw that. So I've seen 2 different versions of the show. It's really entertaining. It's my wife gets her franchises confused, and I was like, honey, that is literally in the land. She's like, what is that mech suit? Is he a Transformer? I'm like, no, honey, not a Transformer. She suddenly turned into, your mom when you're asking for Christmas presents. Like, you want a Transformer?
have a GoBot. Mom, a GoBot is not a Transformer.
Not a Transformer. It's a good land. It feels alive. It's vibrant.
So Satu'li Canteen, I just can't go without the cheeseburger pods. They're fantastic. Those chips, I like the chips. The vibe in that restaurant is cool. When they're cooking the meats, that's kind of cool. The bowl is probably fine, but when they stopped putting the main meal for an adult meal for the pods, I was buying the kids' meals so that I could get the pods. Everything about that land I think was so well done, and the fact they made such good use of the space by putting one attraction over top of the other. Na'vi River Journey, sometimes I like that one better than Flight of Passage, because Flight of Passage is fun.
It's so short. It's so short, Na'vi River Journey. I wanted so much more.
But it is immersive. You do feel like you're somewhere else, because
absolutely.
in its essence, it's just a dark ride. It's a small world, but it's but it's all really kind of taking in the environment as opposed to characters. And because in this world, the environment kind of is a character. The animals and the plants and the things that happen in there. So I do think that's pretty cool. I think it's neat that they're both there. I would love this. In watching this and seeing the attack with the with the fight scene between the military and the Na'vi, I would love to see them have a swap out, kind of like you do with Star Tours, with that scene, that kind of a scene instead for Flight of Passage. I think that would be really neat to be able to see some other kind of experience.
In prepping for the show, this was something I thought of, because we have 4 sequels reportedly coming, and we've always heard with these screen-based attractions that aren't, giant IMAX cameras attached to helicopters, that the scenes are easy to change out. And I'm thinking, like, while they're filming these, they had to be filming new scenes for
maybe
Flight of Passage, right? It seems wasteful if they're not, because people aren't going to want to come back in and then experience, the old, like, oh, where's the giant octopus that eats your face? Because everybody's going to want to see the giant octopus that eats your face. There has to be. He loves the abyss. He loves the deep ocean. There's going to be a giant octopus that eats something.
And there's rumor of there being Avatar expansion. I don't know where they would put it, because when you look at an aerial view of the land, like
backed up.
All of the expansion space to me for Animal Kingdom looks like it's above Kali, out toward Conservation Station, because Kali was supposed to be twice as big, and so there's literally land cleared and ready to go that they could do anything. That, like, Australia was a rumor at one point that they would add there, but I think that, like, Zootopia needs to sit there. That's an argument for another day, whether that belongs in Animal Kingdom or not. But I think that with expansion, Pandora seems like it needs some expansion, because it's so perfect the way it is. And they're doing this model where they build 2 attractions, a shop, and a restaurant. 2 attractions, a shop, and a restaurant. That seems to be the thing that they do, that they keep doing, and I think they need to add on to that. And I could spend than the entire day in Pandora, and we could keep it open at night and all that kind of stuff. Because I think Animal Kingdom, as much of an expense as it was to add this land, and I think it was an amazing move because I always wish they would have put Beastly Kingdom in there. I love that it's there, and I want more. And I think that park needs more, even though, again, they've spent a lot of money, and they're not spending a lot right now. I feel like that park needs something more, and I would love it to be either a Zootopia expansion or an expansion of Pandora.
I mean, there's possibility for expansion anywhere. You see, when we first heard of Galaxy's Edge, we did not think that was the footprint it was going to have. We thought that Star Tours may have been involved in some way, shape, or form. So who knows? Maybe they just make an underwater section, which how impressive would that be? Bring it back to, what was that, Jaws 3? Where they have like the whole underwater theme park gimmick. I think that'd be cool.
All right, so... SeaWorld and Lego Land fan says, if I were to actually fight you, I'd probably win. Why do you want to fight me? Do we need to fight?
I don't think so.
Oh, because there's a Wishables throwdown. I got you. No, we're talking about Wishables. Okay.
Right,
not a physical fight, but a Wishables. Okay, I hope.
You get a lot of trouble for challenging people to fights. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. Violence is never the answer.
Okay, so I again, I could talk about the land for a long time, but I do think that I get a lot of integration for me into this property and back. So I'm glad you sat down with me and watched this movie again against your better judgment, because I do feel like it. You know, I wanted to see it again after being in the land, and I feel like I'm glad I did. So, because again, I got a lot of vibes back and forth between the two. There aren't a lot of lands or attractions that give that to me. Again, maybe Cars a little bit, but definitely in this one. So, before we go to your final analysis, any more thoughts that you'd like to share about this movie?
Really well acted. I did not remember how good the performances were. So I'm impressed with what they did with what does not seem to be like a great script. It's very basic dialogue. It's not anything, Shakespearean. It's just very basic dialogue. So really, Sam Worthington, Michelle Rodriguez, Zoe Saldana really did a great job selling it. Giovanni Ribisi is out there chewing scenery, being Ari Gold. I think that was fun. But man, there's, sometimes we watch a movie and I'm like, hey, there's not much movie in this movie. In this movie, there's too much movie. There's just too much.
So, by the way, Archfox says, I hated Titanic. And the thing about Titanic is, not that we're talking about Titanic, but we'll talk about Titanic for a second because of James Cameron.
Oh, sure.
And because it was the #1 movie for so long. To me, I don't like movies where I'm waiting for the shoe to fall. Like, I don't know what Titanic is, but I know it's going to sink. And so it's kind of like there was a bit in, I don't know if you ever saw Hot Tub Time Machine, but in Hot Tub Time Machine, where Crispin Glover's arm is like in the future, he doesn't have his arm, so every time he almost loses it, they're like, oh, this is it. That's the kind of thing I felt like. It's just like it was like waiting for the shoe to drop in Titanic. Like, it's gonna sink, I know it is, and they say things like, "Oh, it's unsinkable." So like, to me, I had that coming. This to me, and again, argue if you will that it's Pocahontas, Fern Gully. First time I saw this movie, it was an adventure that I didn't know. It wasn't based on a book. It wasn't based on an IP that I knew. It was an original adventure that I didn't know where it was going, and I loved that about it. So
I can respect that. I can totally respect that.
Yep. So all that said, here's the moment. Patrick Hackett, this is important. Are you ready? Would you recommend this movie?
No. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes that drag on and on and on. Go to the land, enjoy Flight of Passage, have some cheeseburger pods. I mean, maybe if you're watching it on your phone in the queue for Flight of Passage, if it's a long wait. But, I mean, you can go and do Dinosaur across the park and then come back. Maybe the line has calmed down. Do not watch this movie. Find anything else. If you want something from James Cameron, True Lies is great. You can watch The Terminator or T2, obviously good films. Or if you want to stick to what's on Disney+, I do not remember the name, but his Atlantis documentary is amazing. And go in with an open mind. It's not all conspiracy theory type stuff. It's great. Go enjoy it.
Before I give mine, a little bit of a fight in the chat. Eric Wolf is very sad because Scandalous suggested that the Tree of Life could be Home Tree, which
no, don't do that. That's upsetting to everyone.
I mean, we already have web slingers instead of Tough to Be a Bug out in California. So I think keep Tough to Be a Bug. It's a good show. I've watched it. It is, though, I will argue, the scariest children's movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But it is, I get what you're saying. Like, build a new Home Tree, though. I think that would be kind of cool. Or a Tree of Souls, maybe a little deep for a theme park. I don't know. But I will disagree with you on this because I like this movie, and again, for all the reasons I said, the cutting, bleeding edge animation in this, the CGI that took things to a whole nother level, which made way for things like The Jungle Book, and I will begrudgingly even say like Lion King, which I think was a poor choice for a movie, and we could talk about that at another time because I love the original. I don't see a need for the second one because it follows it exactly. But that said, this one was an original story. It was long. I do agree that it was kind of jam-packed, but I think they probably thought this was going to be a one-and-done maybe. And the fact that now they're spreading out all of these other movies and it's growing every day, we may blink and there may be a sixth one in preparation before the second one ever comes out. I actually enjoy this movie. I think it was a good watch, and for a 2-hour, 40-minute, there are a lot of movies that I will not stand to sit through again for 2 hours and 40 minutes. This one, it felt good, but especially, I feel like two things. One is if they're going to be 5, you got to watch this one. I feel like you've got to be in and understand the origin of all this, and maybe they make the second one so different that you don't, but I feel like you kind of need to. The second thing is that going to the land, I think you can go into the land and enjoy it for what it is and not have to see the movie. But I think if you see the movie, it ties it together better. And I do think that property and this movie work together so well that I would encourage you to watch this movie. So let us know again in the comments below whether you liked it, whether you didn't, whether you watched it, whether you won't, because Patrick, and you already got to Neko, she said no, she's not going to watch this because your wife said no, and so she's not going to watch it. Said no. And so I would say again, I think if you're gonna this is homework if you're going to Disney World, you gotta watch this movie, and I do think that you would enjoy it. But let us know in the comments below, and if and we'll pick somebody before the end of the week to win this little guy, or give you another option too. That's something else we've been doing. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. I know it was a long episode, but again, a lot to cover with the sequels and the movie and the drama with Patrick and not liking this movie. But we will return again. Patrick and I will be back on July. We'll be back next week with a different movie, but Patrick and I will be back on July 6th. Right in time for the Independence Day celebration will continue as we talk about what, Patrick?
Civil War.
Talking Civil War. I think we're going to have some different opinions on that one too, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe we're on the same page on that.
I think we're on the same page on this one.
Okay, and then, again, with Civil War, talk a little bit about Avengers Campus, which has just opened in Disney California Adventure, and the things that, between the MCU and what they brought to the park. So thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.